Okay, so I'm just going to jump straight into it. This is an ATV that I got at a thrift store, and it's cut up off camera because I initially cut it to take the seat out, and I was going to use the seat on something else, and I ended up looking at this, and I thought I like the angles, I like the shape of it. I'd rather build something with this instead. So I had no intentions of making a video using this, but here I am. So I used the racing seat from a NASCAR kit that I got also at a thrift store. A lot of my stuff is either found or at thrift stores, or somebody was tossing it, and I was like, I'll take that. I find a lot of stuff on the ground. I go on a lot of walks with my dog, and we find a lot of stuff together. This piece that I'm dry fitting on here right now was actually found on a walk the day before I started this video. I had no intention of using any of that in the build, but once I took it apart, I saw all the interesting pieces inside of it, and I thought, you know what? These pieces are going into the build because they fit. They fit everything that I was trying to do. They had a place for it, so I ended up using that. I'm dry fitting all the pieces together right now, and here I am pretending like I didn't know I wanted to use this piece, and just trying to make it look a little bit more like I spent some time doing this, but I did a lot of this off camera. I'm not gonna lie about it. I dry fit a lot off camera, and I do that because it makes it easier on me. I don't have to go and edit a bunch of footage that I have just sit there sticking pieces together and seeing what looked good together. I'm gonna sand some stuff, and it really kind of defeats the point whenever I douse it in super glue and then dunk it into baking soda in a minute. But it's not going anywhere. Whether you sanded it or not, once you slap that baking soda on there, it's pretty well stuck. I do stick EVA foam in but behind it as well, and here I am gonna stick some EVA foam in between two pieces. And I'm not going to use any baking soda on this part because I want it to look a little bit cleaner. I feel like when you use baking soda, it makes it look rustier. It gives it more character and all that. But I want the thrusters on the back to, I don't want it to be caked in super glue and baking soda. I want it to look cleaner. I want you to be able to see the details on all of the little slits and the rings around it and all of that. So I'm using EVA foam, and I'm sticking it in between the seat and this metal bit as well. And I learned this trick from watching Bill making stuff. If two pieces don't agree with each other, then stick a little EVA foam in between them, and they stick together, and they'll stay. It's not going anywhere after that. So that's a really helpful tip that I've learned from watching him. I take a lot of things from other people that I see and try to apply it. If it works, then I use it, and if it doesn't, then you're not going to see it in my builds. But that one works for sure. And now I'm just bulking out the back, and I'm finding all the pieces that I think would look good together and make the undercarriage look busier. That's my goal, is to make this thing look like it's busier than it actually is, or look more intricate than it actually is. So all of these pieces that I'm putting onto the bottom are just gonna look like they're one cohesive unit, but they're really just a bunch of different pieces slapped together. And that's my goal. And I want it to look like somebody has come through at one point or another and replaced parts, and they're not gonna look different as far as they're gonna be rusty. This is a post-apocalyptic hovercraft. It's gonna look clunky. It's gonna look junky. It's gonna be rusty, But I do want it to look like it would function. So all these pieces are gonna connect to one another in one way or another, and then I want to go through and kind of weather it, and I want it to look like a mess, but I want it to look like it'll function still. And here I'm adding, this is a piece of a Hot Wheel as well, and it's got a seat on the bottom of it, and I'll go back and cover that up later because it's very noticeable It's a Hot Wheel seat. Like, it's the same scale and everything. It's not going to fit for this. So I'm spending some time now on the top. I knew these hoses were going to be a part of this build from the get-go. Like, I found those in the same kit that I found the race car seat, and I really liked them. I thought they were pretty detailed, and I really don't know what else I'll use them for. So felt like they had to go in. Here is a piece of Hot Wheel, this metal piece, or this metal purple piece here. And I thought it fit pretty well there. And then I'm just going to bulk out the bottom here with, these are like the wind-up toys, like the cars that you put on the table and you pull them back and then let them go and they drive on their own. That's what these are out of. If you break them apart and take all the cogs and, wheels and stuff out of it, this is what you're left with. And the other parts are, in a box somewhere that I'm going to use for something else, but this is just going to be used to bulk it out because you're not going to see it anyways. So here I am talking about the seat here to myself off camera and saying I need to cover that up, which you guys I've already told. So I'm covering it up here, try to make it look less like a seat and more like, just some interesting piece of metal. And then I'm going to bulk out the edges of this with more of that, apparently. Okay, here we go. This is the part that I was looking for. Sorry if this is like sounding like I'm doing this all in one take. It's because I'm trying to, honestly. I'm going to try and do this without stopping and going. And these are more of the pieces from the bit earlier that you saw with the exhaust on it. And whenever you start clipping them, it broke. I did anyways. I broke it all to pieces. So I'm going through and using some plastic card to fill in the gaps, and I slam a bunch of EVA foam underneath that to fill the gaps underneath it, and then I cover it up with this plastic card. And I do go off camera and trim the plastic card to look more like a panel instead of just a piece of square plastic. And I got that inspiration from an account on Instagram, Making Hicks. He does a lot of builds like that have paneling and like a lot of spaceships and cars and stuff like that. And he uses a lot of plastic card and other things that are cut into like more sci-fi type shapes. And I think it looks really good. I don't see a lot of other people doing that, and maybe I'm just not looking in the right places, but he does really good work anyways, and I can't make a video or post without giving him a shout out, because he's a pretty big inspiration for me. I really enjoy his work. If you guys are interested in his page, I'll link it in the comments. Just comment and say, hey, I want to know what's that guy's handle or whatever, and I'll do it. I'm just fitting in some paper clips. I like the coated ones better for this. They look more like wires, and I'm just making like some hanging wires or some dangling wires to go underneath it to add a little bit more detail to the bottom of it. I felt like it needed something extra down there that wasn't just Hot Wheel pieces. And here I'm going to add some metal casing that came off of a camcorder that I found in the woods. It was broken. I don't know what it was doing back there. I was on a walk with my dog, and we found it. And I took it apart, and I took all the components out of it. And these cases I've been sitting on them for a while. I've used a lot of the components over the years, and I've been sitting on these. I didn't know what to do with them, so they look like replacement panels that would go over the top of something to repair it, or not replacement but repair panels or something like that. And I thought it looked pretty good. It really is just to break up the just sleek, straight angles, like make it look like there's more going on, kind of like I'm doing with the rest of it. This build is kind of out of my comfort zone. I've never built a spaceship or hovercraft or anything like that. I've built robots. I've done some kit bashing of like 28 millimeter scale miniatures. But I've never done a hovercraft before. I know that it's not like groundbreaking, like people have done these, but I've never done one. So this is something new for me. And I really didn't know how it was going to turn out whenever I started it. And I just kept, you know, man, if you guys have not built anything and like you want to, and like you really enjoy watching these videos, this is how I got started. I watched a lot of videos. I watched hours and hours of, people making things online. And I was like, man, that's really interesting. That's cool to me. I wish I could do that. I wish I knew like how to do that. And then you realize once you start doing it, it's just gluing a bunch of stuff together. And if it doesn't look good, glue some more stuff on top of it. Eventually you'll get to a point where you're like, I'm happy with that. And like that's really what I've learned doing this, is that like a lot of people say less is more. I feel like whenever you're scratch bashing or whatever, more is more. Like the more stuff that you throw on top of that, the busier it looks. The less people are going to nitpick the build, I think. And I mean, what do I know? I could post this and people be like, that's hot garbage, but I thought it looked good. I liked it. So I'm not really worried about the opinion of everybody else. I'm trying to keep up with this. And like I said, I'm doing this in one take. So hopefully I'm still matched up with the video and the audio. Here I'm trying to add a piece of an earbud and a hair curler that I've cut into a square or half square. And then I'm adding this piece of Hot Wheel that I thought fit really well. I think I mentioned that earlier. Like it just looked like it belonged there. And then now I'm adding an odometer that I cut out of the same kit that I got the race car seat out of, and the wires. And I'm covering up some of the stuff that may not look like it actually goes together. Like I feel like this going over that made that under it look a little bit more like it was supposed to be there. Like you could tell that they were glued together before I did that. So I'm trying to hide it. This wheel, if you slice it down the middle, it opens up like that. That'll come into play later. I don't know why I showed it to you this early in the video. But yeah, so here's the rivet montage, and I don't have the big fancy doodad that just automatically slaps them on there and just bloops them on there for you. So I got to do this individually by hand myself, and this is a very repetitive motion. So I feel like this is a good time to do a call to action. If you guys have made it this far in the video, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing this with a friend. If my rambling hasn't just driven you off yet, and you've made it this far, then I promise you it'll only get better from here, or at least I hope so. It can't get any worse because this is my first go of it. So I'm hoping to improve with every video, and I'm hoping to do more videos and more builds of different things, and not just hovercrafts. So here's the end of a super glue cap that I thought I was going to be able to cut off in one piece, and it turns out I wasn't. So I have to fit it on there and glue it. But I just felt like that thruster on the back needed a little something extra. It looked like it was lacking for me. So I added that, and I think it looks a lot better after I did that. I'm going to go through and greeble it up a little bit more, or greebly it up with some more hemispherical beads, just to give it some more detail. Like to me, detail's key. You want to just keep adding stuff to it. Like I said before, like I don't know that this looks good to you, but I'm getting to the point where I'm almost ready to finish it up now. So I'm going to add just something else to cover it up. This is a paper clip that I've bent into the shape of a gun, and an inspiration would be like a Fallout, like a pipe pistol or something like that, if you need a reference point. I'm not trying to cop anybody, like I want to give credit to people, and inspirations that came to me. I want to give credit where it's due. So Fallout, like Bethesda's gonna call me and say, hey, where's my money? They're not. But anyways, I'm really just building this gun to put on the side here to cover up this big plastic card piece that I have on the side. It was a gap that needed filling, and I didn't have any detail to put in there. So I feel like this gun will kind of hide that. And later I end up having to re-glue it, and I use way too much super glue, and it cakes it all up, and it looks awful. So not my best work on that one, but I'm still figuring it out as I go. So here's that wheel, and this was pretty much dumb luck. Like I needed a wheel. I really wanted like handlebars, and I couldn't find a motorcycle at the thrift store in a bag to save my life. Honestly, like I tried, and I had this wheel, and I sliced it down the middle, and it ended up doing exactly what I wanted it to do. I cut it again to make it look more like a racing wheel. I've added it's like a battleship peg and a paper clip to, just make it look like it's, something's functioning there, like that's a steering wheel, and there's some kind of hydraulic cable going to it. And this is what he's going to use to turn and steer the ship. So there for scale is a 28 millimeter ruster that I did. And I thought I was done, but I went ahead and added this kind of like a roll cage type thing on the back, or maybe like a fin, or I don't know. I felt like it needed something back there. So it's a cable or a harness or something, cage that's going to hold on the thruster. It's primed, like there's no big dramatic cut scene. I'm just going to prime it, and you guys are going to see it as it's primed. This is where everything comes together, they say. So I'm using the cheapest paints that you guys will find. I'm not going to be using any speed paints, at least not now. Like I don't have that kind of budget for this. This is a hobby for me. This is not my job. So I use what I got, and what I got is some really cheap paint that I got from Hobby Lobby, or Hobby's Lobbies, as me and my girlfriend say to one another. And I'm going to do 2 coats of watered down burnt sienna. I might hold the paint up to the camera. You might be able to see it, and other times you might not. But, this is a rust color. Like if you guys can't see that, then I need to get a better camera probably. But I'm going to try my best to tell you guys what I'm using. But if I miss it, use your imagination. So I'm gonna give you guys a disclaimer here. I'm not a painter, okay? I'm not an artist. I did not go to art school, and I didn't take art in high school. I did not take art in any fashion at any stage of my life. So if it looks like I'm doing something wrong, it's probably because I am. Like I don't know how to highlight and shadow, and like where the shadows are supposed to be, and where the highlights and lowlights, and the sun's coming in from this direction, so it should look like, I don't know any of that stuff, man. I just do it, and I think it looks good, and I move on. So again, if it looks like I'm doing something wrong, it's probably because I am. And if it looks like I'm doing something right, it's probably by accident. So please, no publicity is bad publicity. Yell at me in the comments if you want to. I'm not going to be mad at you, but please take it easy on me. Like painting's not my forte. I like to glue stuff together, and you can't just leave it like, I guess you can. I've seen plenty of people who do it, but everybody I watch paints it afterwards. So I'm going to give it a shot. I've painted things in the past, and they don't always turn out the way that I wanted them to, but they don't always turn out terrible either. So it may not be the best, it may not be the worst, but it is what it is. So here I'm going in with a lighter, it was brown and orange mix. It's just a lighter rust tone, trying to give it that 2-tone rust look. And I'm going to hit the I guess the deeper parts with this watered down version, just like in the parts themselves, and then I'm going to go over it with, this is wrought iron. I know that was really fast. But I'm going to do a wrought iron on all the metal, or the parts of that I think are metal, that haven't been painted anyways. Like just the raw metal parts are going to get wrought iron first. And I'm going to give that a pass. And I may do two. I don't remember, depending on how it dries. But I'm just stippling it on there. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not going to paint the whole thing. I want the rust to show through. This is post-apocalyptic. I want to see the rust through the paint. And I learned that technique watching, I'm gonna credit Bill because I watch more of his videos, but I've seen so many people do it. Pretty sure that Gert from Dark Matter Workshop, I believe, did that. And I've watched, several other people do the exact same technique. So if I credit the wrong person, it's because I watch that person more frequently. And most of my views are from, I watch Bill a lot. I watch Studson a lot. And I've watched Boyle Hobby Time. And then I see a lot of people on Instagram, man. There's a lot of good artists on Instagram, a lot better than me, that don't make videos just like me. Like, this is my first video, and I wish that a lot of the people that I see on Instagram would make more videos, or make videos in general, because there's so many good artists on there, and it's a really good community. I made a lot of friends on there. This hobby is very welcoming. All the people that I've talked to have been very nice, and I've had a really good experience doing this. I've felt welcome from day one. I've never had somebody be rude except on Reddit. Dude, Reddit sucks, man. Don't go into a Warhammer 40K thing on Reddit and try and post your post-apocalyptic builds. They're gonna be like, what faction is this with? I went in the wrong subreddit and got drilled, and I was ready to quit. I was like, dude, I am getting out of here. This is not for me. So, anyways, that was a tangent, but true. I'm not gonna lie to you guys and be like, everybody's nice, but I've met a lot of really nice people, and a lot of supportive people, and a lot of people that will pat you on the back and tell you what a good job you're doing. Whether you are or not, you're never gonna know, because they're so honest, to a fault. They're gonna tell you what you think you want to hear. I think a lot of times too. So I've asked for constructive criticism, and I've got it too. So there's people that's been like, yeah, you could do this a little better. So but it's always constructive. It's never a negative. There are really nice people on there, and I'm just rambling. So. I probably need to get back to what I'm doing, and it's just painting, man. This is so boring. I don't know why you guys are watching this. No, if somebody likes to watch painting, there are plenty of builds that are plenty of channels that do just painting, and they're so good at what they do. This is not going to be one of those, like I said before. So please, stick with me and try, or at least fast forward to the end, man. I'm not gonna put timestamps in this, but here's a spoiler for you. I do post the finished product at the end, but again, I don't know how many people are even gonna see this to begin with. Hopefully, my rambling is enough to keep you guys entertained. I'm going over it with metallic now, and this is gonna give it that metal look. The wrought iron was more of just a undercoat, and this metallic is going to go over it. And I'm going to hit this with a wash that's going to dull all this down at some point. And then I go over it again, just the metal parts, with a silver, metallic silver. This is turquoise, or whatever generic paint brand I just used version of turquoise. And it looks really light right now, but it will darken up, and it'll darken up whenever I put the oil wash on there. How about that? It's not going to get darker I do make a darker mixture of this. I mix it with some darker stuff later on and try to hit like the darker areas, or at least where I think it'll be darker, like in between places. And then I do it with a lighter version too, where I think like maybe something would hit it, like the sunlight would hit it. But again, like I don't know if I'm doing that correctly. So please don't come for me, or come at me. Pause. Anyways, I'm stippling this on, and the rust is going to be showing through, and it does, to me, come together at the end with the dark wash. I feel like if you're struggling as a painter, the stippling and slap chop painting or whatever that people do nowadays, like it works, but the oil wash will bring it all together, in my opinion. I think that really gives it the finished look that, at least for post-apocalyptic stuff, like if you're trying to do a pristine paint job, dude, I don't even know where to start with that. Like I don't think I've ever done anything that wasn't first coated in rust, So here is a taupe, and I'm going to do the panels. I don't know if teal and taupe go together. I asked ChatGPT what they thought, and they said, yeah. They said, sure, man, whatever. I don't know what a trash build is, so go for it, they said, That's what I did, and I think that they mesh well together, especially once you factor in that, there's rust undertones and that you're going to do a dark wash over it. I think it turns out okay for somebody who, dude, I've never looked at a color wheel, and I'm not going to beat a dead horse here and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, like over and over again, but seriously, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just painting at this point, and there's really nothing else to talk about, like I could give you guys, a rip-off Bill making stuff, lore dump right here, but I don't have my own post-apocalyptic world where I, have this vision for this thing and like what its purpose is. But, in my mind, this hovercraft is really the thruster on the back is the only valuable piece of this craft. Like it functions and it'll last a lifetime, like it's built to last. It's one of the last remaining things that run, and all this other stuff, the repairs and all the other stuff under the undercarriage that's been replaced over the course of time, over years, and different people, different owners, different mechanics. And this thing's clunky, it breaks down, but the only thing that lasts is the thruster. And I do kind of want to give that as a lore dump, because I do, not my next video and not my next build, but at some point, I would like to build like a repair shop for like some kind of terrain to like work on these vehicles, because I do plan on making other vehicles, and I would like to have like a shop that they would be able to go to, and that be one of the builds that I do. Definitely not my next one. I'm not going to something that big this early, but I do have other cars in mind and other vehicles in mind. Not all hovercrafts, like some for the wasteland roads and stuff like that. So I'm going in and individually painting these wires, and I'm trying to make them red, yellow, and green, because that's the color that they were before. So maybe I should just left them alone, right? But I don't know. I feel like the paint is needed, and I'm going through with a little bit of rust here and trying to hit some of these areas that I think might see a little bit more rust, like the recesses and the any holes that might catch rust and let it drain down and have like a runny spot there. And here I'm going in with a lighter taupe. Like I mixed white with taupe, and I'm trying to hit like the tips of the rivets, and maybe some spots where I think that the sun might hit it or something like that, or just some areas that I think needs to be a little brighter before I hit it with a dark wash. I really have no rhyme or reason to this. I just do it where I think it looks good, and I kind of just wing it, man. Like to me, whenever you're the only person that is gonna see this, there's no wrong way to do it, But as soon as I make a video or take a picture and put it on Instagram or whatever, like then other people start telling you what their opinion is and what you should have done. Like you should have painted it green. You should have painted it red. People have their own opinions, and to me, like when I get done with this, I'm happy with it. Man, ChatGPT said do purple. I felt like that was way out of my comfort zone, dude. I don't even know that I've ever used this bottle of purple, but I'm gonna hit some of the spots. It said that it was a good, like, it made the teal pop. If that's true, then tell me about it, man. Like, tell me why that is factual. But I tried to hit some of the hoses with purple, and then I end up going over it with metallic later, and it kind of blends in, so you don't really see it that much. But here I'm doing a dry brush. I think the first time I heard that was from Craftsman, so I'm gonna give him the credit for the dry brush technique, even though like it's been around and everybody does it. But I'm doing a little bit of light teal dry brushing here, and I promise that's the last time you're gonna hear me whisper into the microphone like I'm like a wannabe craftsman. I respect him. He's one of the OGs of this, and I watched him before I watched anybody, to be honest with you. Like, he was making trinkets and stuff like that, and I loved his stuff, and his character and his voice is so soothing. I respect him a lot, and he's a very big inspiration of mine. So I'm getting into the wash station now, and man, this is messy. I did a mineral spirit and oil wash. It's black oil wash. It's very, very messy. It gets everywhere. Please wear gloves and be careful. Open doors, respirator, windows, stuff like that. And now I'm going in with that metallic silver dry brush. This is after the oil paint or oil wash has dried, and you can kind of see how it's picking up those raised areas a little bit. I'm trying not to hit the teal. I'm sure some of the teal got hit, but if it did, I'm just gonna say that it's like from where the paint has rubbed off and it's not quite rusted yet. So this is kind of I'm almost at a stopping point here, man. Like, this is done. So we'll roll straight into glamour shots, and I probably won't talk to you again.